Many times in life, you feel as if you are being tested beyond your limits. You wake each day carrying a heaviness that has no clear shape, only the certainty that it will meet you again tomorrow. You wonder if the struggle will ever end or whether your strength will run out before you find relief. But there comes a moment when something within you shifts. A quiet voice says, "You have passed the hardest time. You are still here." When you hear this, do not dismiss it. Recognize the courage it has taken to reach this place. You did not simply survive by chance. You endured because something inside you refused to surrender completely. Even in your doubt, you continued to take one more step. This moment is not the end of all challenges, but it is a turning point. It is the place where you finally see that your efforts were not in vain. The path behind you was steep, but it prepared you to meet the path ahead with greater steadiness. There is wisdom that can only be gained through suffering, and there is strength that only reveals itself when everything else has been stripped away. You have learned that you are capable of more than you once believed. You have seen that even in darkness, your spirit can remain unbroken. When you hear that you have passed the hardest time, receive this as a blessing, but also as a responsibility. Now you must decide how you will walk forward. Will you carry resentment, or will you allow your trials to shape you into someone more compassionate? Will you close your heart in fear, or will you open it in gratitude for having emerged from the storm? You have been given a chance to begin again, to live not from old wounds but from new understanding. This is the quiet triumph you have earned. It is not loud or celebrated by the world, but it is real. Hold it close and let it guide you into the days ahead. Many people are so accustomed to enduring hardship that they forget to notice when they have already crossed the most difficult part of their journey. They are so focused on the next obstacle that they never pause to recognize the strength that carried them this far. When you hear that you have passed the hardest time, it is important not to dismiss this moment. It is an invitation to honor your own perseverance. Heng often reminds us that survival is not simply a matter of luck. It is the result of countless small decisions to keep moving, even when you felt no hope. You rose each morning with heaviness in your heart, but still you took another step. You faced moments of fear, of emptiness, of doubt so deep that you questioned your own worth. And yet you remained. You stayed present when it would have been easier to escape. You chose to endure rather than abandon yourself. When you acknowledge this truth, you begin to see that your resilience did not come from outside validation. It was born within you, quietly and persistently, in the darkness no one else could see. To recognize this is not to become arrogant, but to feel a genuine respect for your own spirit. You may think that surviving the hardest time requires dramatic gestures or perfect composure, but often it is made of small, unseen acts. The willingness to breathe through one more hour, to rest when you were exhausted, to speak kindly to yourself when no one else was listening. These simple acts were the roots of your endurance. Heng teaches that when you finally pause to honor what you have survived, you reclaim a part of yourself that was never defeated. You remember that your life is proof of your strength, and that this strength will remain with you, no matter what comes next. It is natural to believe that once you have endured a long period of struggle, no more difficulties will appear. But life rarely unfolds in such a predictable way. Just because you have passed through the hardest time does not mean all challenges will disappear. Instead, something more subtle and more valuable happens. You arrive at a turning point. From here, your perspective is forever changed. Heng teaches that this turning point is not marked by a sudden absence of problems. Rather, it is marked by a deep knowing that you are no longer the same person who entered the storm. You have been refined like metal shaped by fire. You have shed illusions about what you can control, about how strong you must pretend to be, about where your worth comes from. And though more difficulties may arise, They no longer hold the same power over you. In this way, the hardest time becomes your teacher. It shows you that you can be afraid and still move forward. It shows you that you can feel doubt and still remain faithful to your values. It shows you that you can lose what you once thought essential and still discover something unbreakable within yourself. This is why the turning point matters. You are not celebrating the end of all hardship. You are recognizing that you now carry an inner steadiness that was not there before. You are beginning to see that your life is not defined by what happens to you, but by how you meet each moment. Heng often reminds us that a true turning point is not an event, but a realization. It is the moment you look at yourself with clear eyes and finally understand. The struggle did not destroy you. It prepared you to live with more honesty, humility, and courage than you ever imagined. When you look back at what you have endured, you may feel tempted to only see the losses, the pain, and the uncertainty. But if you look more deeply, you will notice something else that emerged alongside the hardship, a strength that did not exist in you before. This strength is not loud or boastful. It does not need recognition from the outside. It is quiet, steady, and entirely your own. Heng teaches that there is a wisdom that only suffering can reveal. When life is easy, it is simple to believe you are strong. But when everything comfortable has been taken away, when the familiar patterns are broken, you finally see what remains in the depths of your character. You learn that strength is not the absence of fear or sadness. Strength is your willingness to keep going even when fear and sadness are present. You also discover that suffering forces you to question what truly matters. You can no longer pretend that trivial concerns deserve your energy. You see more clearly which relationships are sincere, which goals are meaningful, and which habits are essential to your well-being. In this way, hardship strips away what is false and leaves only what is real. When you recognize this wisdom, you begin to trust yourself more. You understand that whatever challenges arise next, you do not face them as the same person you were before. You have been tempered by experience, and this gives you a quiet confidence that does not depend on the approval of others. Heng often reminds us that every test is an opportunity to remember our true nature. It is an invitation to discover the part of us that cannot be broken or diminished by circumstances. When you see this, you will know that the most valuable gift of suffering is the strength and clarity it leaves behind. After you have passed through a time of great difficulty, you stand at a crossroads. You have the power to choose how you will carry the memory of what you experienced. Some people hold on to resentment, believing that anger will protect them from future pain. Others become attached to their wounds, allowing the past to define every part of their identity. But there is another way, one that requires more courage and more humility. It is the choice to let your trials make you more compassionate, not more bitter. Heng teaches that pain can close the heart or open it. When you allow your suffering to soften you, you begin to see the struggles of others with new understanding. You no longer judge so quickly or assume you know the path someone else is walking. You recognize that everyone you meet carries unseen burdens. This awareness deepens your empathy and frees you from the illusion that you are alone in your hardship. Compassion does not mean you deny the hurt you have felt. It means you acknowledge it fully without allowing it to poison your view of life. You learn to say, yes, I was wounded, but I am not only my wounds. Yes, I suffered, but I am still capable of love and trust. Choosing compassion over bitterness is an act of strength. It means you refuse to let the past dictate the quality of your future. It means you take responsibility for your own heart, even when others have failed to care for it. Heng often reminds us that the most meaningful growth is not visible from the outside. It happens quietly in the way you choose to respond when life does not go your way. In the end, it is this choice to open rather than close that defines the person you will become. There comes a moment after great difficulty when life offers you something rare, a chance to begin again, not as the person you were before the pain, but as someone who has seen deeply into themselves and returned with new understanding. This is a quiet invitation, not to forget the past, but to stop living inside of it. The hardship is over. Now begins the task of living from clarity instead of fear, from wisdom instead of reaction. Heng teaches that every ending contains the seed of a new beginning, but whether that seed grows depends on your willingness to release the old identity that suffering carved out for you. You must ask yourself, will I continue to wear this pain like a shield, or will I lay it down and walk forward unburdened? Beginning again means allowing joy back into your life without guilt. It means making choices from the heart, not from survival. It means trusting yourself again, not because you have become invincible, but because you now know how to endure. You carry not just memory, but insight. You have seen the storm, and now you understand the value of stillness. This new beginning is sacred. It does not require grand gestures. It begins with small, sincere actions, waking with gratitude, speaking with kindness, moving through the day with awareness. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you have returned to your true nature. Heng reminds us that to begin again is not to erase what came before, but to integrate it. It is to stand rooted in your own truth and walk forward with calm strength. Life is always offering you a chance to begin again, not just once, but each day. The question is whether you will accept that invitation with open eyes and an open heart. You have walked through days that tested every part of you and emerged with a deeper understanding of who you are. Though the hardest time felt endless, it has now become a memory that no longer holds the same power over you. What remains is the strength you discovered, the wisdom you earned, and the quiet realization that you are capable of more than you ever believed. Now you stand at a new threshold, invited to carry forward not the weight of what has passed, but the clarity it has given you. You can choose to let these experiences shape you into someone more patient, more compassionate, and more honest. You can choose to begin again, not defined by fear, but guided by the quiet certainty that you have faced the storm and learned to trust yourself. This is the gift of having endured, the chance to meet each new moment with gratitude, steadiness, and an open heart.